morning and welcome to yet another edition of Summit. It's midweek and of course we're looking, very, very much towards the holiday which will start tomorrow, the Muslim holiday. Banji Busari will tell us a little more about that. But I'm excited because there's going to be a lot of rest for a lot of people. But other people, may choose, to spend their time going visiting, celebrating the, what do you call it, the Salah? No, it's not Salah.
Eid al-Fitr.
Eid al-Fitr. I think I need to get a little more to sort of these things. Banji, you're failing me. Anyway, that's the way it's going to be, and I'd like to welcome you to Summit this morning. My name is Tom Adere. Today we have someone who's very special, who's never been on Summit before. Let me first of all introduce him as a pastor with the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And then, of course, what a combination, because he's also a politician. He is, he was the deputy speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly. And he is a serving member with the Ogun State House of Assembly. He's the chairman of the Ogun State House of Assembly Committee on Lands and Housing. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Pastor Remmy Hazzan. You're welcome to Summit this morning. It's nice to have you. I was just looking at the combination of a pastor and a politician, but we'll leave that in the cooler. Let's also say to you that Banji Busari is very much around. Banji, good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Of course, when you have men of God in politics,
wow,
there's certainly going to be a change. We want more of Pastor Remmy. I was going to call him Honourable. He said, no, I want you to emphasize the pastor more. So I believe people like that, we believe people like that would actually bring about the desired change in our body politics. So I wish you the very best. As a pastor, I believe when you go there, definitely you will be the catalyst for that change. Good morning, my name is Banji Busari. Tom has said it all. Today on the program, we're actually going back to Ogun State. Don't forget that last week we were in Ogun State. Ogun State is in focus again today on Summit. And we're looking at a number of issues. How much progress have we actually made under the current administration? Are there any challenges? In what way have we got it wrong? If there has been any problems or any way there have been any mistakes? The issue we're actually going to look at on today's edition of Summit. I'd like to also say the Muslims, it's been a period of denial in the last 29, 30 days. The kind of the soul is ready for so many positive things because the soul has actually been developed. And I want to urge us, the things that we actually ran away from in the last 29 days, let us make sure that let there be things that are forbidden forever. Let those things not come back into our lives. Tomorrow is going to be Salah, hopefully, and the public holiday has been declared. I mean, the Eid al-Fitr, it's Salah.
Okay.
It's Salah. It's a period of celebration. That's a period of celebration in Arabic word. Yes, we are all looking forward to it after the last 29 days of fasting and fasting and fasting. Yes, we need it for this nation to actually grow. The prayers are what we need now in our body politics. Yes, the guest has been introduced, Honourable Remmy Hazzan. I call him the...
Pastor.
Okay, Pastor. Are we going to discuss religion here today?
No.
Yeah, one of the most articulate members of the Ogun State House of Assembly. And he's a veteran. He's been in the House for quite a long time now. In the last administration, he was the deputy speaker. He is also one of the most vocal voices in the House of Assembly now. And you recall, let me not, in the Yoruba Palace, yet. Yes, of course, in the course of the interview, you get to know more about Honourable Remmy Hazzan. The role he has actually played as one of the leading voices for emancipation, for the real change desired in Ogun State. It's my pleasure to be here. Banji Busari is my name.
Okay, right away, Banji, I think you better hit with the first question.
Okay. You always, okay, let me
it's a tradition, isn't it?
The first salvo, let me find. Now, let me start on a congratulatory note. For a long time, ACN has been in the forefront of the struggle for the registration of APC, All Progressives Congress. And thank God last week, that dream became a reality. Everybody is celebrating. ACN, CPC, AMPP, and maybe part of ABGA too, as a strong force in ACN in the House of Assembly of Ogun State. What's your reaction to this celebration? I mean, the newest party in town, APC.
Thank you very much, Mr. Busari. I want to congratulate Nigerians for the Eid-el-Fitr that is just around the corner. And at the same time, congratulate my Redeemed Brothers for the 61st Annual Convention, which is already on. And on the note of the question that you just asked, APC, congratulations to all those who are indeed part of the process that midwifed the formation of APC. It has deepened democracy further in this country. But for myself and my people, especially the people of Odobolu State Constituency, vis-a-vis Ijebu Central, and maybe on a larger note, Ogun East, it may not be on a congratulatory note, because it is becoming very clear that our people will not go with APC, especially because of what the issues in the present administration are. And where we're going will be made known within the shortest possible time. But of course, with the merger that has already been approved by INEC, Section 109 has paved the way for us to move on. In the event of a merger, anybody who is of the parties that are merging is free to move on. And because we're not too much comfortable with what is going on in the present administration, our people are moving on. So congratulations, APC, congratulations, democracy, but for our people, we're moving on.
May I know why exactly? Can you just, if you don't want to, go into details, but can you just kind of highlight why exactly, what is it you don't agree with this merger?
Governance generally, we're not in any way satisfied with the pattern that this administration that the administration in Ogun State is tilting towards. And if our interest as a people has not been properly taken into consideration by a government, why do we want to remain with such, a group? And at the end of the day, government is all about the people. If the people are dissatisfied, then they have the right, the privilege, and the opportunity constitutionally guaranteed to move on.
So if I'm getting you right, sir, it is not really about the party, itself, but about, the present administration under which you are.
Don't forget that the party will naturally give birth to the government. Now, if the government has done what it has done hitherto, and the party has not been able to change the trend, it then means that staying under that platform will be a continuation of the same thing we are complaining that we're not satisfied with. So for us, it is better for us to decide on a platform where the interests of our people will be better advanced and, taken care of.
You've been using the word our people, not my people now. Are you speaking the minds of some other legislators in the House?
I'm not alone in this. Of course, there's some people that were on the same page on this matter, and at the appropriate time, you get to see the face or the faces rather, of all of us who are involved in this scenario that is fast playing out. So it's not about me. And besides, my training in leadership does not use the word me, I, or my. I would rather go with the word I, because
That's right, that's correct. Okay, let's. I'm going to be taking us out of this merger thing. Last week we just like Banji rightly said, we had the Okada riders from your states, and of course they were not happy about so many things.
Particularly the Anakowa.
Yes, it's Anakowa, the members of Anakowa, and they had a lot of documents and but basically what they claimed was that the government is making their job difficult. There's been a lot of killings because the government has recognized, one of the bodies. Okay, the government first asked them to merge. They merged. The government said, okay, this body we recognize. But according to them, they say some members of the House have personal interests, and are members of the board of a particular Okada riders association, and it is that one that is being recognized in Ogun State, such that even when they try to do their work, they are attacked. And because they have the backing of members of the State House of Assembly
and other key functionaries in the state,
it has not been successful. And even the police, according to them, even the police would not, face the law, even when the court had given injunction and said they could go ahead with their activities. It has almost been impossible for them. And we had some very gory pictures here. Now, what is your take on this? Especially because you were the chairman of the ad hoc committee of the Okada riders.
That midwife the process of registration of this.
Thank you very much.
These Okada riders associations.
I'll take us back to June 2011, when the 7th legislature was born. As at that time, there were obvious disagreements between various motorcycle groups. And the Ogun State House of Assembly has not constituted its standing committees. So there was the need to quickly look into the crisis that was brewing then. And what we did in our wisdom was to constitute an ad hoc committee to look into the crisis of what really is the problem with the various groups that were at loggerheads with each other among the Okada riders. So I was made the chairman of that ad hoc committee. And we realized that locality by locality, various groups were being formed just to take hold of that, jurisdiction, such that by the time they strengthen themselves in a particular neighborhood, they want to extend their jurisdiction beyond, and it was creating so many disaffection. Naturally, Akomoran, which is the amalgamated commercial motorcycle operators, owners, and whatever, was the national umbrella body that was coordinating all of them, and they seem to have a monopoly of the operations of all other groups. And in our wisdom, we came up with a decision that Akomora, yes, we are not disputing what they stand for as an amalgamated body, bringing all the groups together. But for Ogun State, in order not to have disaffection, let us have an alternative body. That was how this other one called Amoran was born. And the essence was, in a situation where you disagree with the operation style of Akomoran, as a group, you can belong to Amoran. That way, you will not in any way say the two are completely bad, such that you cannot belong to at least one. That was our wisdom, so that there will be peace. And it was taken to the floor of the House. In the wisdom of the hallowed chamber, it was taken as a resolution, and that was it. But a particular group called Anakowa felt seriously shortchanged in the way the operational modules of the two groups were being carried out. So they decided to stand on their own. And in their wisdom, they went to court. And they were able to get a judgment authorizing them to operate. Now, cognizance must be taken of the fact that it doesn't matter how much of decisions we take in the hallowed chamber, in so much as it is not a law, it is only advisory. And once a court of law makes a pronouncement nullifying or upturning what has been decided, the pronouncement of the court stands. So I think what we should have done would have been to call these people again and look for a way forward. Mind you, our committee, at the point that we submitted our recommendations and it was adopted by the House, that was the end of that committee. Every other issue concerning that matter was now to go to the House Committee on Transport, which by then has been constituted, because it was because there was no standing committee That was why an ad hoc committee was necessary in the first place. And I expect that the House Committee on Transport will do justice to this matter. As to the allegation of people being members of the House, doubling as members of the Board of Trustees of any such Okada Riders Association, I have only been hearing it the way others have been hearing it by way of rumor. No substantiation has been given to this allegation. But I want to believe it is not true. Because if it is found out to be true, such a member has violated the provisions of the Code of Conduct Act, and it will be very, very, very much of an incriminating act. But I still see it as a rumor until it is proven otherwise. I will advise that the House Committee on Transport take a second look at the content of the judgment that this association got from the court and find a way to bring in another resolution that will still not in any way, go against what the court has pronounced. Except, of course, there are vested interests that will not want that judgment to stand. They have the right of appeal. Let them also go on appeal.
Okay. In addition to that, let me just ask you to confirm this. It was also one of the submissions during the interview that there's a bill in the House. There's actually a bill that's about to be passed in the House now, seeking to regulate the activities of the Okada riders, and that that bill, when it comes out, would override or takes precedence over the recognition or the registration by CAC and other, the ones they already have. Is there any such bill in the House that's about to be passed?
Maybe I will ask you a question. Can a state house legislate over a federal matter? Registration of companies is purely that of the affairs of the CAC, and we don't have, it's under the exclusive list. However, I'm not aware of this bill that you're talking about. If such bill comes, of course, bills will be looked at on their own merit, and whether it is right for its passage or not, we will decide at that point in time. But I'm not aware of any such bill.
Okay, I remember that, very recently you're one of those strong voices, crying in the wilderness, so to speak, when the Ogun State government present administration was about to take a loan, and you were saying we need to know, the position of the inherited debts from the past administration is, and before we go ahead to take a loan. Now, those questions till now were not answered. We really don't know the position of the debts in Ogun State, the past and the present administration. Do you have an idea, and can you tell us?
I'm aware that the last administration, in its handing over notes, posited that about 49 billion was being owed by the state. And of course, analysis of how those debts were categorized were stated. What was owed contractors, what was owed banks, what was owed foreign banks and other agencies like that, what was owed pensioners and retirees and all of that. All of these were done. But the present administration decided to carry out further audit, the one we call forensic audit, to ascertain the truth about these figures. And of course, at a point we had that a chunk of that 49 billion was forensically discovered to have been wrongly computed.
Okay.
And it was even taken off the 49, which further drops it down to about 39 billion. And it's been more here and there. Some documents have been sent across to the House of Assembly stating one thing or the other. But the truth of the matter is that you cannot really hold on to a particular figure at any point in time, because the next minute you hear that there are some other hidden figures owed by some companies in which the state has proprietary interest. Those ones also needed to be added. As I sit here, I don't know how much this present government will call the debt that we owe. But we have documents stating some figures which, in actual fact, may still be subject to some element of review, because I'm not aware that even those who are employed as the forensic auditors have submitted any report. And if they have, why are we not having it as a House of Assembly?
Sir, when you talk this way, it gives me, I get worried, because the legislature is supposed to be part of government. You are a very, very strong arm of the government. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and the judiciary. Now, as one of the voices in the Ogun State House of Assembly, have you actually pressed for beyond the little crisis we had a couple of months ago? Why has it become difficult for you to actually get the right figures? Why are there contradictory figures that you are not privy to the real fact? I'm sure you are accountable to your people, and you need to know
some things
what is happening
very clear. During the last request for loan by this administration, I was one of those who stood and said, if we don't know our exposure, we're not going to do any approval.
Okay.
Because when we know our exposure, we will be able to tell at least what is the quantum of our earnings by way of allocation and IGR that we're presently using to service existing debts before we add another debt stock to the existing one. Some documents were brought. The initial document that was brought was completely unsatisfactory, and I asked some questions. And the questions that I asked then was that, if you are saying that you have taken so debt, loan, in this administration, and you are servicing those loans with this magnitude of money, what about the ones that you call the inherited debts?
Yes.
Are you not servicing those ones? Let us know our exposure. They went and brought back another set of documents. I was not privileged to be in the hallowed chamber. That doesn't mean that I will excuse myself from the decision of the hallowed chamber when it finally gave approval to that. But what I'm saying is that each time you ask a question, you get answers that are not really in agreement with an initial information that you have. It then means that the more questions you ask, the more revelations that you have, which means that if the state hadn't had the need for loan at that time, the House probably will not get the information that it requires.
The House went ahead for the loan. They got what's the value of the loan that's just been taken by the current administration?
I can tell you what was approved. I cannot tell you what has been assessed. What has been approved, I think we've given approval so far in the House for close to 90-something billion. But how much has been assessed, I cannot tell. Until it is time for budget returns, and we're able to now see what has been assessed and what is being repaid, that is when you can say, okay, this is what we are presently servicing our debts with.
Pastor, I know that democracy is about accountability, it's about transparency, and I want to believe that for this reason, you're saying that you're likely to move away from the party where you presently are. Now, if at the point you asked, for the figures to be made, straight, to be presented to you, and it was not presented to you, why did you go ahead to approve the loan?
Maybe you didn't get me quite clearly. What I said was that there was an initial document that was passed. It was not satisfactory.
Okay.
We requested for more information,
okay,
which was brought.
Okay.
And in the wisdom of the House was satisfied that this could go.
Okay.
And it was passed. Though I was not at the chamber, but I repeat, I cannot excuse myself from what the whole House decide. But what I'm saying in essence is that must we wait till there is need for a loan or an exposure before we get the information that we require? The ideal thing is that on a monthly basis, as soon as you receive your federal allocation, you should even find a formula to send back to the House the pattern of disbursement and the challenges you have, even in the adequacy or otherwise of this fund, and the need for supplement that will come by way of internally generated revenue. The information the House will be availed with will even help the House to bring up other avenue through which the intent of the government can be brought to bear. But when you shut the people who should have information out of that information at the time that they need it, when you bring it at the time that you need something from them, there's mutual suspicion.
Okay, this is Summit. We will take a break and we will be right back. Please stay tuned. You're welcome back to Summit. We have Pastor Remmy Hazzan with us on the program. Of course, he is a current honorable, a serving member of the Ogun State House of Assembly. He's very much with us, and we've been asking him about goings on in Ogun State. I think we should, talk about the demolition.
No, before we actually go on to that, let me ask. Yes, the loans have been granted, and you do not have adequate information on the way it's being managed. But of course, the Ogun State people can actually see what the government is busy putting on ground as far as infrastructure is concerned. The bridges are there, the roads are there. What's your assessment of this transformation agenda of the government?
Thank you very much. I will start with an analogy that will help you to understand where I'm going to, so that I don't just jump to the point that I'm heading and you won't appreciate where I'm coming from. The basic needs of man are situated in food, shelter, and clothing. But believe you me honestly, among those three, what is most important is food. Because you have to be alive to wear clothes, and you have to be alive to stay in a house. Now, if what is most important to keep you alive is food, and somebody builds for you a gigantic mansion, and there is no food in that house, it does not matter how beautiful that house is. It does not matter the extent of the aesthetics. It does not matter how much attractive it looks to the eyes. You will never see the beauty. And that is the point that I'm going to take off from. The essence of most of the approvals we did were for infrastructures, which is okay. Now, infrastructure does not start and stop with roads. Now, we all recognize that road is one of the few infrastructures that you have little or zero private sector participation because of the capital intensive nature. So we appreciate the fact that there is a desire by the present government to do a massive road construction. When I was in school, I learned something called cost-benefit analysis. It is an appraisal technique that you use to measure social desirability of a public project. Public project. Now, social desirability is looking at what will be the adversity of that project to the people, what will also be the benefit of that project to the same people. Where benefit outweighs cost, which is the adversity, then you can proceed. But where cost, which is the adversity, outweighs benefit, you have to take a second look and look at a way of resolving that non-desirability that you have spotted. Ogun State is a state that is not yet industrialized. We're on our way there, but we're not there yet. Unfortunately, those self-employed ones who have their business premises by all these major roads that we are trying to massively redevelop have been shut out of business. So if we are saying that we are constructing roads, the roads we are constructing, beautiful as an onlooker we see them, has taken food away from the people. Now, these are the people that we are in government for in the first place, because government is all about the people. I even love the definition of democracy. government of the people, by the people, and people are constant in that definition. Now, go to the nooks and crannies of Ogun State. We have brought misery to the faces of most breadwinners. People can no longer pay the school fees of their sons and daughters in tertiary institutions. It is not because they are lazy, but because somehow the policy of this government has, in a manner that is not in any way considerate and humane, shut them out. That is one side of this road development that you're talking about. The other side of it that I disagree with, seriously, is in the area of project pricing. I'm aware of an opposition figure who took a PDP governor to court some few years back for constructing roads at 50 million naira per kilometer. But here we are in Ogun State, we are constructing roads at 1.1 billion naira per kilometer. We don't have the resources to do these roads. We could do them in phases. But attempting to want to do them one at a time is making it such that we have so many uncompleted projects. Yet, the people that we have shut out of business will feel, couldn't we have been left at least for some more time? Now, this is my own take on this issue. If we really meant to change the face of the physical landscape of Ogun State, what is wrong in first having alternative business location for all these people that will be affected? That is one side of it. So that while we're doing that, we are preparing the ground for a business concern that will not in any way be truncated. You will even have the ample opportunity to tell your customers, I am moving to so location at shop so and so, and I still have 2-3 months here. That will make your client or clientele not be disconnected from you in any way. That way, it will have been difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to fault you on what you're doing. That's another side of it. Now, if we say we don't have money, and we have awarded road contracts in excess of 200 billion in the state, what is the income generating capacity of these roads? And I'll tell you of one road that could bring in the revenue, but which was never done. Was not even conceptualized, let alone thought of being, embarked upon. And that is the road from J4 Junction to the Olokola Free Trade Zone. On the strength of land allocation, it is in Ijebu land.
Ijebu, okay.
That's the deep sea port location, which was the free trade zone that was created under the Obasanjo administration. If we do that road today, the land that is there is a prime land. On land allocation alone, this government will make billions. On land allocation alone. And of course, promoters of the deep sea ports that have been proposed for that place will immediately move to site because government has now opened up the place. 50,000 direct employment by that port will take a larger chunk of youth with criminal tendencies off the street. And that's why I say all of what we are doing so far looks good on the surface to those who don't understand what is going on. But believe you me honestly, it's outright misplacement of priorities.
Okay, misplacement of priorities. Well, priorities, that's the word. Now, you're part of this government. My questions are these. It's 3 in 1. What was the thinking of the government? So that question is why? Why has this been made priority? And at what cost? And also, is there compensation for the people whose buildings and properties have been demolished?
For me, I think the thinking of this government is based only on the uncontrollable urge to outperform the immediate past administration.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong in being ambitious. Of course, the right thing for anybody to do is you should do better than your predecessor. But it shouldn't be the major driving force. It should incorporate the aspiration of the people that you lead. That is what leadership is. If you disconnect followership from it, there's no leadership. That's boss-servant relationship. That's one aspect of it. Then you talked about the issue of...
At what cost? At what cost and the compensation?
Now, the issue of cost, I've mentioned it here. Okay. I disagree with the pricing of our project as it were now. I disagree completely with the pricing. Someone was even trying to fault my analysis by saying, if you are saying 1.1 billion per kilometer is too much, what about 144 kilometers of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that federal government approved or awarded at 160 billion? And I said, sit down. Let me educate you if you don't know. On that road, there are 3 new interchanges that have been introduced. One at Redeem, one close to the Ijebu diversion around Ibadan, and the other one at, what's this place called? Ojo in Ibadan. That's one aspect of it. On that road, you have 25 bridges. And one of the longest bridges in this country, which is a long bridge close to Bega here, is also on that road that is also going to be expanded. And we have this same government that did just one flyover that has not been used for the past 1.5 years for £1 million. And on this same road that we're talking about that federal government awarded, you are going to have close to 10 pedestrian bridges. They are all part of this wholesale contract award. So you cannot, and besides, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is going to be an 8-lane highway. All we do in Ogun State is 6-lane. So in the area of project pricing, I am not in agreement with this government on project pricing. And I think those who took PDP government to court in the last dispensation should also attempt the same thing this time around. Because what is good for the goose
is good for the gander.
Is also good for the gander.
Address the issue of the compensations.
In the issue of the compensation, I've received quite a number of petitions as the chairman committee on lands. But of course, we're still looking at them. But I want to speak for my constituents who are affected by this demolition. And to mention it here, I think it is not a good thing for a government to move into a federal road to reconstruct or redevelop such road without the necessary federal government approval. And that's what has happened in my constituency. Because the road where the demolitions were carried out is a federal road, and it turned out that as the government of the state awarded the contract to a particular construction company, the same construction company has gotten a contract from the federal government to resurface the same road. And I need you to just add it up and make your own conclusions. But be that as it may, I don't know how someone with a 20-room upstairs will have about 14 of the rooms taken off because of road expansion, and all he gets is 700,000 naira.
700?
That's what one of my constituents complained to me. But I told him.
Have you verified this?
That's what I'm saying.
Of government?
I'm saying, you go, give me a copy of the check with which you are paid. Give me a copy of the assessment form that you filled. Then I can take it up from there. There's so many people that are crying on the inadequacy of compensation. Yes, we understand that by virtue of the provision of the Land Use Act, Section 28 and 29, what you pay for in acquisition of anybody's property is not land, is unexhausted improvement, which is just a building on top. Nobody pays for the land. Yes, we agree. But believe you me, honestly, you can allow government to wear a human face, because compensation is all about putting someone in a position where if he is not well off, he's not worse off.
Okay, let me ask
from
you.
What you described, excuse me, from what you described, that building certainly would not cost 7.
That is exactly what we're saying. Even the remaining 4 rooms or 6 rooms, that we call it, is not going to be of any use, because in the course of cutting, you will have created some structural imbalance that will make that building unhabitable. So it's as good as the whole building is gone.
So isn't that taking undue advantage of the people who you are supposed to be serving?
That's exactly what we are saying here, but for whatever is worth, until those who are affected present their case on the face value, taking it up from there, because you can't cry louder than the bereaved.
What voice do the people of Ogun State have?
Well, for me, I think they should take advantage of what the House of Assembly stands for. Anybody who is aggrieved as to the quantum of compensation he or she has received should visit us in the House of Assembly and let us know. Let us carry out our own. I'm an estate surveyor and valuer. I can go and carry out my own independent assessment of what some of those properties are worth and see whether they are being paid the right thing or not. It is not in any, if someone has received adequate compensation, I can assure you that you won't hear all of the noise that you are hearing.
Well, let me ask, is your disenchantment with the party, that's ACN now, solely as a result of this exercise? I mean, your people are actually aggrieved that the houses were...
There are other decisions that have tribal configuration that we are not in agreement with, and those ones are also fundamental to the reason why we are calling it quit, especially with the emergence of this new party called APC.
Okay, so what do you think is the way out now? Of course, you are in government at least till 2015. I mean, we hopefully anyway. What would you, even if they don't come, do you not think you have a duty, one as a member of the family, you are one of the family of ACN anyway till date, do you not think that that situation could be redressed, or would just...
it is the redress we want for them, that's why we're asking them to come. If they don't come, there's nothing we can do. They have to come. Because whoever does not come, it only means that he or she is satisfied. That's the way I honestly...
Do those houses have CFO and things like that? Because naturally when you want to make, ask for compensations, you need to present valid documents to be able to get what you decide.
But by the time they come, that's when we begin to look at everybody's case on its merit. You cannot begin to prejudge a case before it is presented. And that's why I said, the man who claimed to have received 750,000, by my own assessment, such a property on the General Road in Ijebu cannot worth less than, even for the unexhausted improvement alone, cannot be worth less than 10 million. Even if you just want to be modest in just paying him off so that they won't have reasons to cry wolf. 10 million at least, by my own assessment. So let him give me evidence that he has been paid this ridiculous amount, then I'm going to take it up from there. It will appear as if it's my personal property.
So would you allow me to ask this question? Do you not think the government, the current government in Ogun State, means well for the people of Ogun State? Or could he have gone out of his way to inflict punishment and suffering on the people that actually voted into the party?
I said something earlier, and I need you to take note of my choice of words. It is one thing to have a dream. When you emerge as the governor of a state, it is one thing for you to have a dream. But the ideal thing for you to really carry the people along is to collapse that dream into the aspiration of the people. If it is all about your dream, no matter how busy you are, you'll be busy doing nothing, because it will be all about what you dream. You want a bridge somewhere. If it turns out that the bridge ultimately is going to bring more injury or disenchantment or problem to the lives of those that you think need them. You think they need it. What if they say they don't need it? And by the time you do it and you are applauding what you have done, the people that you expect to applaud you are looking the other way and say, okay, the right time will come for us to tell you what we need. Look at, recently, there was an outbreak of cholera in the state. It tells you of the less attention that we have placed on water supply. Because one reason why cholera will break out is because people are taking in water that are not particularly pure. In the legislators' quarters where I stay, thank God for the general manager of the housing corporation, who out of our benevolence sent trucks to bring water to the quarters. Water does not flow. So if it does not flow in the legislative quarters, I can imagine what's going on in the metropolis. And people would naturally look for water anywhere because water is life. And by the time they take some of these things that are not hygienic, the result is what we are seeing.
Okay. All this coming from you, a serving member of the Ogun State House of Assembly. And, you know, being a pastor, you know what the Bible says, a house divided against itself, what happens? Do you think it can stand? How successful do you think this administration can be?
Which house are you talking about now?
Well, I'm talking about the Ogun State government. That's the house I'm talking about. You are part of this government.
Okay.
And this house seems to be divided against itself. Do you think it can stand? How successful do you think this government can be? How productive in the remaining part of
the tenure
of the
all of what we are saying, they should just take. Criticisms are meant to bring the best out of a leader. They're not meant to bring you down. If you will be humble enough to see, when someone criticizes me, I just take a look at what he or she is saying. And I find out, okay, he's saying the truth in this place. I make amends on those ones. The ones that he's not particularly right on, I discountenance. So there is no state in Nigeria where you have it 100%. That's one thing I need you to know.
Okay.
But once you are above average, you will definitely have the backing of majority. Anybody who's looking for 100% support is daydreaming, and it doesn't belong to this planet Earth. There will naturally be dissenting voices. So if I'm one of the dissenting voices today, glory be to God. We want the best out of our government. That's why we're saying what we're saying.
Okay, that's the much we can take right now on Summit, on this segment of Summit. It has been an interesting one. We have had with us, a pastor from the Redeemed Christian Church.
Why didn't you say honorable? I'll be more comfortable with what we've been discussing politics here.
The gentleman has requested, listen, the gentleman has requested to be addressed as such. I think as gentlemen of the press, we should honor him. So we have had with us Pastor Remmy Hazzan. He's a politician and he's a pastor. And of course, he's from Ogun State and he serves the state presently. It's been so good having you on the program, sir. Thank you very much for coming.
A little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. I'll say Honourable Remmy Hazzan, the member, a very, very strong member of the Ogun State House of Assembly, has been our guest today on Summit. And you heard it all. I don't need to repeat what he has said. Of course, that is the beauty of democracy. We do not all have to agree on particular issues. Of course, this is, like he said, the beauty of democracy is to have varied opinions, their criticisms, and all. It brings out the best in us. And I believe at the end of the day, the Ogun State people, that's people of Ogun State, who have the best from their government. If people like Honourable Remmy Hazzan here will continue to voice and represent his people or their people, as the case may be, honorably and truthfully, the way he has actually voiced his opinion. Because he could have chosen to keep quiet and allow things to go. So thank you very much for actually honoring our invitation today on Summit.
Thank you very much, and thank you Nigerians out there for your time with MITV.
Well, that's a package. Well, the icing on the cake of this segment of Summit. I will just ask you to sit back, relax, stay tuned, because Summit is coming right back at you. We'll just take a break and we'll be right back.